welcome to the March 4th episode of Trips and Traps. Never quite get that straight, but I know it's March. I'm Andy Serling, glad to be here. Eric Donovan.
And we got two segments to bring you this week, and we're going to focus in, at least on the first segment, about the way the track was playing. Now, we said last week that it was still an inside speed track, and I think at the beginning of last week, of the last week's races, I should say, just to make it a little bit clearer, that it was still playing inside-y and speedy.
Yeah, I think it was Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday were inside, and then Saturday and Sunday we got back to being an even racetrack. And we found 3 races, actually, from Wednesday, where the way the track was playing had different effects on each one of the races, so we thought we'd go through that. And we're going to start out with a race, the third race in the 25th, and we're going to look at a horse, Living Out a Dream, who's the 1A.
Now, Living Out a Dream was running in a starter allowance here, going 6 furlongs. This is a New York bred that had run long in non-winners of 1 allowances, and had run quite well in those non-winners of 1 allowances. So a different kind of spot here for Living Out a Dream, and the turn back kind of puts him up against the wall here, because he doesn't have that much early natural speed, and the way the track's been playing, that doesn't really do him any favors here.
Right, and not only that, he also breaks from an outside post, and as you'll notice during this race, the heavy favorite Truffle Man wins this race, but the horse who finishes second in the race, while he may have been the second or third choice, also enjoys a very cozy trip, and that's the 5 horse on the inside. You see him scooting adroitly over the rail, a good move by his rider. On the other hand, Living Out a Dream probably never gets inside the 3 path in this race, and he's back and forth now. He was coming off of 2 two-turn races, and I think we may have even shown one of his races on Trips and Traps, where he had wide, tough trips in both those races, and now he gets another impossible chasing spot on the outside here. No chance once again, as you'll see.
Yeah, not where you want to be at all on a track playing like this, and you're just up against it sprinting as well, and you see the heavy favorite, the Truffle Man, just going to ride the Spies to an easy win here, and then going out a little bit farther as they come off the turn there is Living Out a Dream. So really no shot here. He doesn't finish up all that well on this spot, but I guess the way the track was playing and the way the dynamics of the race were working, could you really expect him to do any well on the stretch?
No, not at all. In fact, I like that he finished behind, because I think Living Out a Dream is in career form now, and I would love to see him stretch out from this race and catch an even track and maybe get an inside post and not, maybe he has troubles with the turns, because even in those 2-turn races when he had inside posts, he seemed to come off on the first turn. I'd like to see him get a nice, more comfortable trip, because I think he's in good form, and he could easily win a New York bred with non-winners of 1 2-turn race. And this race will make him look worse than he is.
Yeah, I think that's the right spot for him. And another race we'll take a look at also from Wednesday, the 5 horse at Deadlock. This was race number 4, the race right after the one we just showed you. It was a maiden claiming race, and what was interesting about this one, Deadlock, a long shot, looked like a sure send on paper, but they decided to do something else here.
Yeah, he's number 5, and you can see there that jockey's already steadying him. He's in blue. We'll highlight him here, but he was being completely rated as hard as a horse could be rated in this race, and literally dragged out of the race. Now, I don't think this is a jockey decision. I have to think this was a trainer's or connections decision, because this horse is so blatantly pulled back and attempted to rate here. Now, I understand he's not a good horse. He hasn't done well in any of his starts. He had 1/3 in the mud, I believe, at a big price. However, he was lone speed in a race on a racetrack that was playing extremely biased towards inside speed. Today didn't feel like the day you're supposed to experiment and rate him. And as you can see, the rider's taken him to the back of the pack. He's taken him to the rail, which is a good thing. The problem is he would have been in front in the rail if he hadn't been dragged back like that. Now, maybe it wouldn't have mattered anyway. There was a heavy, heavy favorite in here, Our Dreamette, who was going to win this race regardless of what happened here with Deadlock. But I'm not sure why you would pick this race to rate him.
Yeah, I don't understand it at all. And this is a horse that's never passed a horse in his career. And you see him just in an awkward spot there. It looks like he's going to go wide. It goes back inside. Just looks like an education race to me.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they decided to try something different. And, I can't knock them for trying something different, because it's not like anything's working out with Deadlock. But on the other hand, I think when you get a horse who has the speed that he has on a track like this, in a situation like this, that was the day to go to the lead. Now, the question is, where do you go with Deadlock going forward from here?
Yeah, I mean, you got to hope, I guess maybe they catch another speed track one day and they decide to send him, and the fact that he was rated last time will dirty up his form, and maybe won't think that he'll show speed. I don't know.
His form's pretty dirty to begin with. But you know what? Maybe we'll get a sort of somewhat of a speedy, or a track that's kind of speed, and maybe he'll get into the same field again, and he'll be the only speed. And I wouldn't mind taking a chance with him, at least to be 1-2 at a very, very big price. I just don't understand why they chose this day. But now we'll move on and we'll go to the 8th and featured race from the 25th.
And this was an allowance optional claimer at 6 furlongs, now owners of 2 other than for 4-year-olds. Now we're taking a look at a few horses in here who had some trouble in here. We're going to stop and highlight it right about now, I guess. We'll stop and highlight it, and we're taking a look at the one Baxter who's inside in the pink cap. Right to Baxter's outside is Little Wise Guy, and also in the mix there is a Strummer in the pink silks just to the outside of a Little Wise Guy. And the way the race unfolds, these horses are going to have different troubles at different points in the race, and we'll just let it play out here a little bit and see what's going on here on the front end. You see Baxter sitting in a good stalking position here, third right now, pretty much getting a dream trip at this point.
Yeah, but this is really a situation of the riders becoming acutely aware of the track playing towards inside speed, and everybody riding really aggressively. And you see, for instance, Baxter, he's angled the outside in the clear, which turns out to be the right move, but he makes what turns out to be a premature move. Not a criticism of the rider. The way the track was playing, he was doing the perceived right thing. And of course, the same thing could be said for Little Wise Guy, who I believe was Jeffrey Sanchez was riding this horse, and I credit him for staying on the rail. The problem is he gets completely jammed up in there. He too is trying to do the right thing. The winner of this race actually comes from dead last. He saved ground in the turn, however, and angled out in the stretch and took advantage. You've got Baxter clearing the lead. We didn't even see the winner in the picture. There's Strummer in the picture, and of course Little Wise Guy getting completely bottled up.
Yeah, as Little Wise Guy's really having his run affected here, and he was the 2-1 favorite in this spot here. We're going to see Baxter. Well, Baxter's actually in the front end. This is Strummer. This is Strummer in the back right now, and Strummer is going to have some trouble here at several points in the stretch. The rider's going to have to, can't ride him through certain holes. Right here, he gets in a little tight there, and then later on in the stretch too, Strummer's going to run into a little bit of trouble as well. And we still haven't even seen Platinum Couple on a picture yet. So it just goes to show you the horses that were in trouble or made the premature move were affected here, and the winner of the race pretty much had a great trip coming from last in this spot here. And we see right toward the end there Strummer not being able to ride. But I think the 3 horses clearly affected by it. Baxter with the premature move, Little Wise Guy with all that trouble, and also Strummer. Little Wise Guy was the 2-1 favorite in this race, so I'm not sure that you're going to get too much value on this trip next time out. I think a lot of people probably saw this.
I don't want any part of him next time out. I think that this trouble looks worse than it is, because the truth is he was on the right part of the racetrack and he was held up and the race collapsed at the end. He didn't really have much finish, and I'm not sure that Strummer wouldn't have finished ahead of him without the trouble he had and the way the race collapsed. To be honest, Baxter's the one I would want the most because he made the early premature 3-wide move. The other horses were sort of towards the inside, so he was kind of against the track and moving too soon. I'm not sure exactly who I want out of this race. That was an interesting race because it was a real meltdown, and I think it happened because of the riders being smartly, acutely aware of the way the track had been playing, but it contributed to a chaos factor, which is what can happen when you have an extreme bias. I still think Baxter ran the best race, though, and Little Wise Guy's a trap in the future.
I would probably agree with you there. And I don't know, Strummer, I mean, is a horse that we've seen a lot of, and we've gotten to know him. And he's a 6-year-old gelding who's run 43 times now. So maybe you're getting him on a good race here off a claim, actually. This horse was running for Oscar Barrera, so maybe Oscar figured something out here, and maybe Strummer will run another good one next time.
We'll see. You never know with Strummer. He runs some terrific races, and then he runs a race like the week before when he finished second in a race he had won. Anyway, that does it for the first part of Trips and Traps. Once again, we enjoy getting your emails, trips and traps at NYRAinc.com. Thanks for watching.